there are those, and it's not a function of age, and it probably isn't even a function entirely of education or political leanings, but there's a temper in probably America, but for sure, I know in America and maybe worldwide, for the literal, a literal take on everything that reality TV has taken advantage of and incorporated as part of itself. And the literal take on things is a take without irony and without edge and without, it's usually a fairly, there's a certitude to it. Why don't you write a book that has nothing to do with war? As if that's a certain possibility. You should certainly try to do it as a way of recovering from a war. And you want to say a number of things. This is not just a book about war, you idiot. And it's a book about love and a book about storytelling. But you also feel overwhelmed by the knowledge that you're not going to get through, that the literal minded are going to remain literal minded, and maybe someone else can help them, but someone else is not this guy. So there's a wave of anger or bitterness that has to do with Vietnam and has to do with a kind of mindset of the literal all around me that doesn't fit my take on the world. It's in my experience in the world, where it's hard for me to take anything very literally. Words "I love you," as soon as they're uttered, I'm suspect. How much, and when will you stop, and will you? In what way do you love me? And what is love to you, by the way? Is it forever, or is it till the next, person passes you? All this stuff complicates. Uh, Whereas someone else would say, "Well, love is love," and if you don't know what it is, you're a poor guy, and that's their take. Partly I try to skewer it, parody it, make fun of it, ridicule it, and put it in its place. But partly I'm sympathetic to the literal. That is, I'm sympathetic if some mom is holding a dead kid in her arms, and how else is she to take it? But here's my dead child. And so there's a part of me that understands it and is sympathetic to it. And probably the better part of me is that way, where I have at least some capacity to, I think, which novelists kind of have to imagine otherness outside oneself. And as a consequence, my books are filled with characters who bear no resemblance to me, and who can be villainous in ways I'm not villainous, and can be good in ways I'm not good. That I think the capacity for empathy or understanding goes with a successful book, because you have to create other characters and other angles of vision on material for a book to ring with some kind of authenticity. Among my fellow soldiers in Vietnam, I mean, there was and remains to this day a kind of absence of that kind of empathy. A dead child is a dead gook, and a dead Vietnamese woman or one with her legs blown off is a woman, a gook with her legs blown off. And it pretty much remains that way these days. 40 years later, these same buddies I served with in Vietnam don't have much empathy for the so-called enemy, and I doubt they would be capable of, because that's there, of writing the things they carried. They'd write another book. It would be a much different book.